Hey there, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are when you're listening, watching this. We are delighted that you're here with us for an important conversation about menopause and leadership. So, shout out to all of you, but particularly if you're a midlife woman leader. This is the conversation you definitely want to be in. Want to say hello to um, those of you on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. We're not joined by our TikTok community this morning, but if you're on Facebook, whether want to say hello to you, a special shout out to Extraordinary Women Influencers, my Facebook group. So glad you're with us today and for this very important conversation. Did y'all like that music in the beginning? You know, I keep talking about that music because I created that music. That's an original. I had so much fun. And again, we can do anything that we want to do, especially in this midlife time, because it's an extraordinary time. It's a time for us to be creative, do those things that we've always wanted to do, and not give a whatever about what anybody has to say about it. You know what I'm saying? It's a beautiful time. So listen, if you're a woman leader who has ever felt that something was off, but you couldn't really explain it, this is for you. So, in part one, we named what so many women experience but rarely say out loud. So, you can be at the peak of your career and still feel off. Exhaustion, a shoulder that locked up with no warning, shifts in confidence that, no one prepared you for. And so in part one, we named the cost of that in your leadership, in your earnings, in your opportunities. And so I'm glad you were able to join us then and now. For those of you I haven't had the chance to meet yet, uh, I'm Dr. Geneva Williams, and I'm a leadership strategist. I have led organizations at the highest levels, and I've lived through a shift that no one named for me at the time. And that was that perimenopause and menopause. I didn't know what that was. I had heard the word menopause, but that peri thing, I had no clue on what that was. So for me, this conversation is not about theory, it's about leadership because there was the expectation that no matter what I may have been going through, um, physically, biologically, I still had to perform. And we still have to lead and influence and take care of families and work. So this is not a small, tiny, insignificant conversation. Just yesterday, through the Michigan Women's Commission, where I am a member and was former chair, I was with the governor and others as the state announced the menopause memorandum shaped by women's voices from across Michigan, focused on research and data and greater visibility for what women are facing at this stage of life. Let me give you a little clip from what the governor said about this issue.
People, that was a frequent refrain in your work, is that education, there's so much information that needs to be provided. So talking about menopause openly and honestly can feel very vulnerable, but I think you all proved that when we do it with science and respect and empowerment, boy, can we learn a lot from one another. We know that menopause doesn't just cost us individual, and I say us because I'm in it too. But it costs us individually, it costs us as a state collectively in our economy. It costs women, individually as a total, $25 billion in medical expenses, $1.8 billion in lost work days. And that's why I wanted the Michigan Women's Commission to move forward on this. And I'm so grateful for your leadership, Cheryl, and everyone who's been a part of this. 2,500 women across our state engaged in this conversation thanks to your work. The report that has come out now gives us insight and a pathway to continue to move forward on. And I'm really proud of the work that we've done these last 7 years to support women.
So, when you have the governor of the state talking about this issue, bringing it forth, that matters. And it matters because a lot of reasons. One, she talked about, she in it too, in the middle of it, but also because the focus is on what's the kind of policy, what's the kind of changes, how we can institutionalize the remedies for this. So this is not a fringe side issue. This is a leadership issue. So today in part 2, we want to move from naming the problem to what you do next, because you're not the only one going through this and you are not powerless in it. And so we're not stepping back. This is about learning how to lead through it. And I want you to know that I created an interactive guide leading through the fall to give women language they can use, strategy they can apply, and a practical tool that they can take straight into your real life living every day. It's very simple, it's direct, and it's interactive, and it's built for how you actually lead. And you can access it right now. The link is either on the screen or in the chat and QR code. So today we're going to get practical. What do you do when something feels off? What do you say first, whether that starts in the doctor's office or clinician's office or at work? How do you keep leading at your best when your energy just isn't cooperating? How do you stay confident in your decisions when your body all of a sudden you're standing on the surface of the sun and your body isn't responding the way it used to? So that's the conversation we're having today. And after our conversation with our guest, who I'm so excited about, I'm going to show you exactly how you can put this into practice with framework. So let me bring in the leaders who can help us move this forward. First, Joy D. Calloway is president and CEO of the Black Women's Health Imperative, and she led the largest national survey on the menopause experiences of Black women. She got the data. And then meet Loretta Bush, who's president and CEO of Authority Health. She sees this play out inside health systems every day and brings both the leadership perspective, and she's known nationally, and she brings that real world experience. And then Cheryl Bergman, who is executive director of the Michigan Women's Commission. She's helping turn this conversation into policy at the state level so that it matters and it stays with us and makes a difference. So Joy, Loretta, and Cheryl, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to have y'all here.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so I know we've got plenty of people who are saying hi to you. They're in the chat. And so any of you who have comments or questions, please put them in the chat. I do have some conversation with these leaders that I want to get into, but we do want to have your comments and questions. So put them in the chat and we'll get to them. I want to just thank all of you for being here and really start off with, the fact, the truth that many women assume what they're feeling is just stress or burnout or just too much going on. Oftentimes, they do not immediately think menopause or perimenopause. So, my question to each of you is when a high performing woman starts noticing the changes in her energy, her focus, sleep, or mood, what should she do first to figure out whether this may be menopause and not just stress or burnout?
I'd love to jump in if I can. Dr. Geneva, thank you so much. And I'm so excited to be on the panel with these amazing women talking about this critical topic. The thing that caught me about this question is it ends with not just stress or burnout. I want to start there because even if you are a woman leader dealing with just stress or burnout, I need you to focus on that as well. So let's take a minute, take a beat. If it is just stress or burnout, take a time out. I just put myself on a timeout. I just looked up and said, you know what? I need a timeout. 3 days. Bye, y'all. I need a minute. Right. So let's focus there. The second thing I'll say is going to sound a little bit unfair. I really want women, and Black Women's Health Imperative want women to be thinking about what is your baseline. Before things start to change, you got to know what your baseline is so that you are recognizing that it is a change. So I would encourage women, all of us, to spend time understanding our bodies, what happens on what's a good day, what's a regular day. So when things start to change, we notice it, even if it's subtle, and we can start making notes about that and be prepared to talk about that further. So I'll turn the floor to my colleagues.
Yeah, that self-awareness, knowing almost every single second, every single minute, what your body is signaling to you. Loretta or Cheryl, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll jump in. First, ditto what Joy said about the stress and burnout, because it may be both. You may be perimenopausal and you may be stressed and burned out as well. So you may be getting a double whammy. Where do you start? It's one thing about women. Many times we have a village. So I would say maybe you want to start with a trusted friend who's already entered and start talking to her about some of the things that you're experiencing and getting some feedback and having some conversation from a trusted friend or family member. Of course, I'm going to say you need a medical provider. At some point, you're going to need a medical provider. You're going to need to talk to that person. And it may not be the person who's been with you through your life prior to these perimenopausal and menopausal symptoms. So you may have this wonderful primary care provider who's been with you through pregnancies, through other transitions, but they may not be the best with this one. I'd say give them a chance, see if it works out. But then you may need to go, and we talked about this at the first show, you may need to find someone who specializes in perimenopausal and menopausal women, and not just anybody. So again, I'm going back to that trusted friend. I know that's what I did. I talked to someone and she gave me someone amazing, because it's not about living in silence. It's about, talking to someone, seeing if you can get some guidance. And then going in, talking to that medical professional, be it a primary care, and it may also need to be a behavioral health specialist.
Yes.
So, and that conversation just starts with, this is what's going on with me, and what can you do to help? Because you don't want to just be left with, this is what's going on with me. What do you have in your bag of tricks? What do you have in your toolbox? What would you suggest? So that you don't just walk out of the office having just kind of unburdened yourself with what's going on, but with a clear plan, a treatment plan, just like you expect a treatment plan for a what to do, because you expect that with your other medical issues. You want
absolutely
what's next steps, what to do, what are we going to do now? How can we partner together? Because this is a real thing that's happening, and so having that conversation.
Yeah, and that perspective of partnering together is so important. I just want to make sure that our audience also knows that many of, oftentimes, well, who do you go to? How do you find a doctor? Well, and Joyce, on Joy's website, and we'll make sure that you have the link. She has some terrific resources about that. So you want to do that. Cheryl, what do women do first to figure out whether this might be menopause or not just stress or burnout? And as we know, it could be both and all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I echo what Joy and Loretta were saying, because we heard over and over and over again from women around the state when we had our conversations, know your body. Let's destigmatize the conversation around menopause. When I asked, my mom never told me about it, never talked to me. When I asked her about it, she was like, I don't know. I don't remember. And my dad's behind her, like rolling his eyes and shaking his head, But, so we have got to talk about it. And you both said that. And yes, go to your primary care. If something's starting to happen, go to your primary care, but exactly right. You may need to find someone else. And when we did our conversations around the state, we found, I think, every menopause certified practitioner in the state and had them on our panels. And there's not a ton of them, but menopause.org lists, and I'm sure, Joy, you have an incredible list too, but that's a great resource. They list all menopause certified practitioners, I think, in the country. So, and keep going till you get the answers. We had one woman tell us it was her neurologist who finally said, because she was having the brain fog and she thought something was really, really wrong. And she finally went to a neurologist, and the neurologist was like, perimenopause, let's get you on some hormones, So women are being misdiagnosed constantly, and you just got to keep going until you get the answers you need.
And, often there's that fear. And, you don't know what's going on. And then once you kind of say to yourself, well, my body is signaling that there's a problem or something's off, what do I do next? What do I say? How do I talk about this? So when a woman realizes that she might be dealing with this menopause, what should she say? Or ask first whether that conversation is in the doctor's office or at work. Cheryl, what's been your experience with what women are saying about this?
Right. Like I said, we've talked about the doctor's office. A lot of doctors, three key findings from our conversations in our menopause in the workplace survey: educate physicians, because they're just not educated, not their fault. They're just not educated on menopause and perimenopause. 2, educate us and start young when girls are learning about their menstrual cycles. Talk to them about what's going to happen in perimenopause and menopause. And 3, destigmatize the conversation. Let's talk about it. And so when you go into the doctor's office, and I do believe menopause.org, and there's a ton of great resources out there that have lists of questions you can ask your doctor. Make sure you're very clear. And we had so many women that were just dismissed, but luckily we are persistent. We don't let things go, which is wonderful. And they just kept going until they found someone who could actually help them.
Yeah, I hear that. I also run into lots of women who still don't know what to say, what to do, and are fearful of that. What should women be asking and saying? Joy, Loretta?
Yeah, Joy. Well, I'll start. So first, I just want to get this out and make sure that women understand you don't owe anyone your medical narrative. So saying something or asking something in the workplace may not be, you have to assess that and everything. It may not be the place. You don't owe anyone your medical narrative in the workplace or anywhere else except in your clinic, in the doctor's office. But if there is a space where you want to start, talking about it, and it's a safe space, you really want to start, with talking about what you're experiencing, what I'm feeling physically and what I'm feeling emotionally. I think I mentioned last time that a woman started off by saying, this is the first time I've ever experienced absolute rage. So, while we're used to people saying, I'm hot, I got the brain fog and everything, but yours is a personal and individual experience. So the first thing you may say in a trusted space is, the first time I've ever experienced absolute rage, or, my body aches all the time. It's aching all over, but you want to be able to, name your experience in the right place at the right time, though, because you owe nobody your medical narrative. Really, if we want to start normalizing things in the workplace, it's exactly what we're talking about today. It's leading through it. It's showing the way, and not necessarily it's like you would not walk into the work in most workplaces. You're not going to walk in there and say, "Oh my God, I'm on my period." So you probably are not going to, oh my God, I'm perimenopausal, but you normalizing things is by leading by example and showing the way, because clearly you're probably going to exhibit some symptoms. We're all grown and we're going to see that. So you walk into the boardroom and you have your hand fan with you and you're using it and you're normalizing that. You're not apologizing for it. You're not talking, you're just using it. If you need to turn on the fan, you turn it off. And then when you need to turn it, you turn it on and you turn it off, but you just know it's a part of the day. It just is.
So you're saying we shouldn't be saying, hey, I'm going through something now. Watch where you say it.
I think you can, because and Joy probably gave a great experience last time. If you're in that kind of workplace environment, but don't assume that it's that kind of place. Okay. But if you know that that's that kind of place where we walk in and and we can say these things freely, then yeah. But I just want sometimes we can overshare. That can be dangerous and everything, and we don't owe anybody our medical narrative.
So it's about being smart about this, thinking it through, that emotional intelligence. Joy, what do you think about? Weigh in on this.
I would say, just like we do any other situation, one of the things that we keep talking about is this fear and this shame. And I'm the type, it's hard to shame me and I'm not afraid of much, right? And so I would encourage people to take this challenge on just like we take on any other challenge in the workforce. You're talking to women leaders. So we are bosses, we have run stuff, we've started stuff, we've closed stuff, we've enhanced things. However it is that we show up in the workplace, we can bring those skills to this moment. I might script something to say, with that trusted board member or chair or boss, whomever it is that is your senior, and say, I'm experiencing some temporary health challenges, nothing for anybody to be worried about. This is what it might show up as. Here are the things that I'm doing to manage it. But because we have this relationship, I want you to be aware of it, know that I've got it under control. You don't want to come as if, oh my God, I don't know what's happening. Now, you might not have to do the things that we've talked about earlier, but because we're talking about experiencing this in our workplace, the same persona, that same boss Joy that comes to work is going to have the conversation here. Loretta said, and we know from our earlier show, I'm in an environment with all Black women. So, we don't have a lot of the other things that people may be dealing with, because we can just call a thing, but everybody isn't so blessed and situated. Still, the fear, out of here.
Geneva, one of the things that our report recommends, so we made recommendations for employers. And one of the things and it's working in the UK, it's working in other countries, train everybody, give everybody perimenopause, menopause training, train the HR, train your supervisors, and then have a go-to, a menopause champion, so to speak, in the workplace, where a woman can go to that person and say, look, just what you just said, Joy, I'm experiencing these things. It may show up like this.
It's temporary.
I'm going to need some accommodations, help me out here. So
Okay.
that's one of the recommendations, and it is working. It is helping employers retain talent midlife. They don't want to lose us. They don't want to lose our institutional knowledge and our
Right.
leadership. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, and we made some other recommendations, but that's a big one.
Mhm.
Can
I
tap
couldn't
back
agree with
in?
that more because it's about the training. I
Mhm.
couldn't agree with it more. And I was kind of waiting to get to the training. You have to train your HR. You have to train your people
Mhm.
because everybody does not have that space where it's all Black women or all understanding it. But the training will help because it is the workplace. And we do want to train people to understand and to have accommodations and to have things like flexible work schedules, to be able to ask for that. But that's after training. The flexible work schedules, the ability to work remotely sometimes or in a hybrid environment sometimes. These are things that have worked in other places, and we need to start normalizing that in workplaces here. But
Mhm.
it does, if we're going to do that, it does start with training.
Mhm.
Dr.
And so
Geneva?
it seems like it's, at least two things going on here. There's what an organization, an employer, a workplace can do, like the training, like
Mhm.
identifying an individual or department, a safe place, and then where a woman can express, articulate. And then the other side of it is what we do as leaders after we name it, after we're self aware, then being thoughtful and strategic about having a candid, open conversation with the right person
Mhm.
at the right time. That's what I'm hearing. So again, it comes back to a lot to us being not only that CEO or that senior VP or that leader, but the chief health officer of our own self,
Absolutely.
right? And
Absolutely.
so that we do that. So let's say we got that together, so that we're working in an organization that might be sensitive or not, and we have seen it, we understand it, we name it, we know what we're going through. Now we got this big board presentation, and just we got the clicker, and it's in our hand, and the slideshow is there. It's going to be dynamite. We've practiced. We ready for it. We step up to make that introduction, and all of a sudden, it seems like we're standing on the surface of the sun.
Of the sun. Been
All
there.
right.
Okay.
So I want to know, in real situations, when we have that energy shift or that focus shift, what do we do to be the leader, continue to be the leader that we are?
Yeah, I'll start if I may. So, you
Mhm.
know what? Women leaders, we have led through many things and we have managed many things. And we know that we are this, and we know that we're about to get up on that stage, and it's going to be the stage lights on us, and everything is going on. Your computer is on there, and that's going to make you hot. So it's about the pre-management, but we have done that. So, it is now about wardrobe management. That's a real thing, wardrobe management. And I'm not talking about, we all talk about the layers, but even the type of clothing that you wear, you are the architect of this whole thing. And so all of that pre-management stuff, the type of clothing that you're wearing, the fan, the little portable fan that you brought up to the podium with you, the cloth handkerchief that you brought, not the napkin, because then it gets stuck. Little pieces of napkin get stuck all over your face
That's right.
and everything. And
That's
that's
good,
just
Loretta. A cloth napkin,
a
a
cloth, a,
handkerchief,
a
a
Practical.
handkerchief,
hanky.
a
Yes.
hanky. And here's what I did. I made sure that mine was black because you don't want to be up there patting with something white and now you got brown foundation all over it. All of these things causes you to
Oh,
get off
yes.
your square and
Mhm.
lose your confidence when
Mhm.
you're, not prepared for standing on the surface of the moon.
Yeah.
You know that you're about to stand on the surface of the moon and everything, but it's like, I am totally prepared. And so that when it happens, I'm going to click my fan, or some like to wear the neck fans. Clothing management is a key. And then also, having, you may have been someone who could just speak off the cuff and be very spontaneous in every situation. But when you're standing on the surface of the moon, all of a sudden, that's all you can think about. So having good notes, you may have been a person who didn't need to have great notes, but now going through this, you need notes, you need an outline, you need this, so that when you start to blaze up and everything, now, but I have my notes, I have everything, I've managed my situation, because I can't stop the moon, because not the moon, the sun.
Yeah, we got it. We all knew what you meant.
But yeah, standing on the
sun, even on the moon, it's that out of body experience.
That part like too.
What
when
am
all
I
of
doing
a sudden
here?
it's
Why
like,
am I here?
What's happening? Right. But it is about that management, all of those management skills that you have developed. This is the best time in our life. We are sharp as we can be.
Practice it.
Use all of that kind of stuff, all of that pre-management, so that you can be, so that you don't get thrown off in situations when all of these other things start.
Can I amplify that? Just two things. Just exert. What you heard Loretta talk about was exerting control over what you can control. And again, this goes back to what we do every day anyway. We have to recognize that this is a different challenge, but in many ways, it's just like every other challenge that we've dealt with as we built these amazing careers. So I really want to lean into pulling that fear out, because we're going to do all the things we need to do before we get in front of that presentation, much like Loretta said. The other part of that is, this is a mindset thing. We have to, I am still as fabulous as I was before I hit perimenopause. My body may be trying to trick me, but I'm going to go in there with the right tools. To the earlier question, I'm going to take data into my physician. We're going to partner, to Loretta's point earlier, we're going to partner in solving this. So we're going to put all of the tools that we have used to be who we are today in our leadership roles to work for this new challenge and new situation, and prepare for as much as you can prepare. You'll delegate some pieces of it. Maybe your assistant or my assistant will text me throughout the presentation. Don't forget this, say this, little things like that. Think ahead of time what you might possibly need and normalize it. And I like to throw in some levity. I'm going to say there might be more power during this presentation than you even expected, ladies and gentlemen. So if you take this jacket off, we all know what that is, and we're going to keep moving. So these are already kind of disarmed a little bit with the levity and prepared for it. Whatever fits your personality, to normalize and take your fear out is what I recommend.
Yes. Cheryl?
I love that. I echo everything that both Joy and Loretta said. And, sometimes it's not just the hot flashes and personally, I would experience, just painful menstrual cycles and, leading up and, heavy bleeds, all those kind of things. And at those times, delegation was really key for me. When I knew that there is no way I'm showing up or going to that meeting or making that presentation, I tried to bring up the people who can take my place and make sure that I'm not the only one who can do those things. And I think we as women have got to know that there are people who can do it for us when we just can't at that moment, and just make that happen.
And do it strategically. Do that part strategically, I would say, right? Because we're still in many situations having to navigate and do what's necessary to maintain our positions. So just know, going back to that trusted partner, who is that trusted and capable person who is going to recognize that I'm just covering for Cheryl in this moment, and I'm going to make her look good, and then I'm going to step back out and
I'm going to step back.
That's going to be really important, I think, in that situation. And the other thing I would say is to hopefully we have all, and we should keep this in mind, already developed a track record of success, of fabulous and persuasive presentations, of getting things done. It's like we've already deposited so much excellence into our productivity and our professional bank that if there is a bit of a slip, a bit of a dip here or there, people are like, well, she must be having a day because that, Joy shows up, Cheryl shows up, Loretta shows up. So this must have been, a little temporary glitch. You want to make sure that you already have that baseline of excellence there. So when something happens, people aren't freaking out about it.
And I know
And
you
that is so important, that whole aspect of where it is that we are in our stage of life.
Yeah.
When this natural, hear this, midlife women, this natural transition, this biological transition happens because we've been around the block a number of times. We faced hard things. We're experienced. And so there probably was a time when we remember having the hanky. Or as you said, I remember my grandma used to always have the hankies. Well, let's bring that forward. Now you talk about, let's change the color. Let's have a dark colored hanky. I love it. But let's bring that forward, what we know in terms of our wisdom. And I also wanted to I love the whole mindset thing. So we've been through things. We know hard things, and we've been able to deal with that, and we should be and know ourselves. So we should know where our energy is. So when somebody wants to schedule that breakfast meeting at 7:30, and perhaps that ain't where our energy is going to be, then we switch to a lunch, or let's meet for later on. But knowing where our energy is as well.
7:30 wasn't my energy when I was 30. I said, excuse the interruption. 7:30 was not my energy when I was 30. So surely not at 58.
Yeah. No, it was not. I knew Joy when she was 30. So no, it was not.
And we know that. So that's where we are. And I do remember perimenopause and menopause and all that was difficult. Didn't know what was going on and all that. But also that stage of life that I was moving into. I like that stage of life. I like where I am now. There's many things that, I don't tolerate. I don't, I know exactly what I want and more importantly, what I don't want and don't want to do. So there's some joys, lots of joys about this stage of life.
There's some joy. Dr. Geneva, if I could, Cheryl mentioned something, and I don't want it to just kind of pass because it is a big part, the bleed, that terror and fear around showing up and bleeding. So since we're having like a real conversation, I don't want that just to pass because that is a huge part of that perimenopausal space. And so I do want to say, this is an issue. Please talk to your physician about this. Maybe you need uterine ablation. Maybe you need something so that because, you can't always send somebody else. You still have to show up. And I remember that this was a big fear for myself and for many of my colleagues. You're going up, you're doing testimony before Congress or before the legislature. You sitting there, they're grilling you, and more, you're like, okay, when they're done with me, I got to stand up.
Right. Yeah. And it's going through your head as you trying to.
And I'm like, please stop asking me questions because I think I've reached the limit of my maxi pad. Okay. and now I'm terrified that at the end of this, I have to stand up and you're going to get a gusher. And this is another time when I talked to my physician, I explained, I'm like, we can't have this. What do you have in your toolbox, in your medical bag of tricks? This is who I am. This is how I have to show up. And I can't be worried about, this thing. And I'm sure I'm so glad you brought that up because, it's so unpleasant to think about and talk about, but we're having real conversation. Yeah. And that's a real conversation with your physician.
Yes.
What can you do? Is it uterine ablation? Is it one of the other things that can, slow down my menstrual cycle or stop it?
Hormones.
Yeah. And so, Cheryl, I remember watching the video that the Michigan Women's Commission produced, and it's on their website for any of you who want to watch it. It's excellent. But what I was struck most was the conversations, the real conversations, the comments from women from all across the state about their situation, how this has affected them. Can you give us just a little taste of that? What are women across the state saying?
Yeah, like I said, this was the conversations. Like I said, over 2,500 women showed up at our conversations overall because they're hungry for this, to talk about it and to get it out there. And they were excited about being educated, and they really just wanted to share their stories. We had so many women. We had some places where we went, we couldn't capture everybody's story because we didn't have time. And they were telling us all of the things. Please educate the physicians. Please educate us. Let's normalize the conversation. We've got to change the culture. We cannot be ashamed to talk about this natural life transition. Those were the main themes that came out of the conversations. And also the celebration, like Dr. Geneva was saying, of let us age. Let's honor this wisdom and this where we're at and all of it. Mm-hmm. Let's honor that. And yes. the wearing the IDGAF on our foreheads, one woman was talking about,
So what is that? It's a slow down ID. What? I saw it when she said it.
I don't give a
right. Fill in the blank.
A flip.
A flip.
Right. Give a flip. Tacked on the head. Okay.
Yes.
And we can walk into our meetings with that attitude, mindset.
Yeah. And there was a lot of celebration about that, just like you were saying, Dr. Geneva. So, but a lot of them shared their stories, and a lot of struggling about how many times they had to go to several different physicians to get the right answers. And again, being persistent is key.
So why have you on that subject? This is a great conversation we're having, but it's not a private struggle. And at some point or time, the system needs to respond.
Yes.
So Cheryl, you've been doing a lot of work in this area in terms of culture, policy, and leadership. And also both Joy and Loretta, as you run organizations, policy matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's say a little bit about what needs to change in the culture and in policy.
I'll start with our, so we also in the report made recommendations for employers, but we also made recommendations to lawmakers and policymakers. And since last year, when we launched these conversations and Governor Whitmer launched this menopause movement, as we call it, 7 pieces of menopause-related legislation have been introduced in the Michigan legislature. Okay. When there was no conversation happening before that, 7 pieces. And what they are, they're legislation to create a curriculum for physicians, public awareness campaign around menopause, and insurance coverage for HRT, hormone replacement therapy, and funding bills to fund the education and the physician curriculum. And I am excited to say that 2 of the bills, one to educate physicians to create a curriculum, and the public awareness campaign, have passed the state house in a bipartisan fashion and are now in the Senate Health Committee. So amazing. But those are the policies. And these were, of course, women legislators who stepped up. And the women legislators, they were moderating our conversations. They were serving on our panels. They are all about this too. So our women in the legislature and the men who voted to pass these bills in a bipartisan fashion. So it's extraordinary.
That's wonderful to hear. Loretta or Joy, you want to weigh in on this question of policy and culture and what happens at the organizational level, in particular for we as women leaders?
I can jump in on culture really quickly and shout out to Big Gretch. I miss my governor. I live in DC now and I miss her. So excited about what's happening in my home state. On the culture piece, this is one of the places where Black Women's Health Imperative has really leaned in. We talked the first time about our Power in the Pause edutainment events that we do around the country. It is a culturally grounded event that brings together all of the experts necessary to really have this conversation. Menopause trained physicians, we have mental health providers, exercise therapists, nutritionists, we have sexual therapy folks that come together, bring hordes of Black women together in a high energy environment to really talk plainly, like we've been talking today, about this experience. We know in our world, we live and learn and engage in community. So we might be more apt to listen to our sister. Loretta said I should be considering this, and I might take that to the doctor to talk about before I take what the doctor said back to Loretta. And
That's
so
right.
we lean into that at the Black Women's Health Imperative. Check out the website. You'll see some of the clips there. And as you mentioned earlier, we also did the nation's largest cross-sectional study of Black women and their experiences in the perimenopause and menopause experience. And so again, we take that information, culturally grounded, and push that back out into the world so that we can say, this is our narrative. This is how this shows up for us. This is what our needs are. Just like my founder, Billy Avery, said, centering the voices of Black women in their health and making sure that we are heard. The last thing I'll say, and I'm picking up on, I think of something that Cheryl said, we were talking about, this mindset, this experience, this part of life. I said last time, and I will say, going through perimenopause and reaching menopause, which is a point in time, is a privilege that has been denied to many.
Women.
That is the place we have to remember. It's not necessarily cute all the time. It's not fun all the time, but we know more about how to navigate that.
That's
but
right.
I would much rather have a hot flash than have somebody have given you my obituary.
Absolutely.
Amen to that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's true. So I just want to go back to the legislation around
Yes, please.
for physicians. You know that Authority Health operates the second largest teaching health center, graduate medical education in the nation. So we're training physicians across the board, and certainly this kind of curriculum really fits for us because we've already been a leader in training them in population health, training them in anti-racism and social justice. So this just really fits and resonates with us. So that's sorely needed. Also, the training of particularly HR directors, because, I am right now sharing a screen with a bunch of bold women, but there are also women who may not be ashamed, but they may not be as vocal and want to come in bold and talk about things, but they need to have a trusted place in the workplace that is trained to hear their voice, even if their voice is quiet around this issue, but they're showing up, they're leading, but they need a trusted place to go. And the HR area is that trusted place that many employees go. The other thing is these adjusted work schedules. We talked about energy management last time. And so if you can talk to HR and if there's a flexibility in the workplace that can adjust your work schedule, or many of us now are working from home full-time or part-time, hybrid, having your schedule adjusted. And I love when Joy kept saying temporarily, because we still have to show up. We still have to lead. We want to show that we are bold and we can work and we're valuable during this time. We're just as competent as we ever were. But we may need some temporary adjustments. And all of that starts with, having a workplace policy around this and everything. It all starts with that.
Yes.
Because, you want to be able to reach the spectrum of women, how we show up. Some show up very bold, some show up leadership, but more quiet and just quietly lead by example. We want to have a workplace that supports the wide range of how women during this time of life show up. Starts with policy, clearly identifying the flexibility, clearly talking about confidentiality around this as well. So the whole range, because this is indeed, a medical issue, not a disease, but a medical issue. And so we want to respect confidentiality. We want to have good training,
Absolutely.
all of those kinds of things.
I really appreciate too that perspective, Loretta, because that's important, because we come from such a diverse range of experiences, backgrounds, work settings,
That's right.
et cetera. And so there's a couple of truths, I think, in that diversity. And we've brought several of them out, that each one of us, in fact, can be self-aware, know what's happening within our body, one, and secondly, that one way or another, we can find and should find ways to be prepared.
That's right.
To deal with it, that this information has helped. And then, the thing, just having this conversation and the many, many other conversations, and having the governor of our state speak about it, shows that you ain't alone. Because so often we think, well, we the only ones going through this, and we the only ones struggling on how to make that meeting, and we the only ones who got to go reach for a fan, or I got this frozen the shoulder and I don't know what's happening. We think we're the only ones, but we're not. So, our time is winding down, and I do want to get to a final question that I do have for you, but I noticed there was many of the questions in the chat are dealing with finding the right clinician or doctor, about blood work and what happens in the office, and what we can do, how can we see our levels and things like that. And what I want to do is really direct you to the websites of these organizations that we have here. Incredible information. I'm just so constantly impressed by, we do have the information, and there are places that you can go now.
Yeah.
And that wasn't true 10, 20 years ago, certainly when I came through. But now there are places you can go. There are doctors who are certified. There are resources. There are conversations. So please do that. And in that vein, I wanted to ask, I know if there's a woman leader out there who knows something is off and still trying to figure it out, she's watching this conversation, what's the one thing that you would want her to do next? What's that first clear step you would want her to take?
I'll jump in. I'm a preacher's kid, so it has to be 3, because you have to have 3 points.
Okay, all right.
So the first thing is to, woman, know thyself. Understand what off means for you, which means you will have been tracking things. Take that data to your physician, hopefully a menopause trained, culturally grounded, racially concordant physician who understands what you're going through. That's the first thing. Number 2, I would say, is to take this on, and I'm repeating myself, take this on like any other work challenge you've had to this point. You would not be in this point if you were not successful in overcoming obstacles and barriers. This is just another one. And then the last piece is embrace this privilege of moving into this period of life where you may, as you go through it, you're feeling, I am more confident than I was in my 30s, my 20s and 30s, more wise, have more wisdom and experience behind me, and just really take this on as an exciting, like a roller coaster ride. There are going to be some parts that are really scary and really make your stomach drop, and there are going to be some places where you're thrilled and having a great time. So that's what I would offer.
Okay. Loretta?
Yeah, I love all 3 of those. And so what I'm gonna say is this: definitely understand that this is a time of life that is not where you're not sick. You're not sick, but this is a major transition. And it is gonna take, I saw someone in the chat saying about time consuming. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is going to be time consuming, just like it was time consuming when you were told that you were pregnant and now you're making, doctor's visits and all. You've seen transitions before and you've led through those transitions. So yes, this is not something where you're sick, you're not less competent, but it is going to be a wild and wonderful ride. It is a privilege to be taking this ride. There's going to be times when there's going to be peaks and there's going to be valleys. And in other times when we face things that we are unsure of, we get a coach. And I'm going to say, maybe you need to find a menopause coach, a coach, a mentor, someone who has gone. Many of us watch the women who are going right before us and we keep our eyes on them and we see how they're leading and we see how they're transitioning. And we say, now look, I need a coach in this situation. We've been on the planet for a while. And so we've learned various different things. And when we enter into unknown territory, we many times find a coach or a mentor that helps through this. So how about a menopause coach? You say, look, I need to be able to talk to you. You've walked this walk, knowing that everyone is different, because and this is what I do want to say, some women we're leading in the boardroom. Other women are leading in construction companies, in automotive industries.
They're in the field.
These are not environments where we're gonna, show up a certain kind of way. So, but what we all can do is have someone, a coach, someone who we can talk to, who can help us navigate uncharted territory. And so that's what I would leave with you. You're not sick, but certainly you are entering into a time where you may want someone to walk closely with you. You are on uncharted territory, and it can be a wild but wonderful ride.
Wild but wonderful.
Cheryl? I would say find your menopause. Talk to your friends.
Okay, menopause.
I love that. That's a t-shirt. I love that.
Yes, it is.
We have a friend of mine made t-shirts. We all have t-shirts. Menopause.
Okay.
And it's so important just to talk about it with each other, share experiences. And the more you talk about it, the more you feel comfortable talking about it to your doctors, in your workplace, other places, and know that you're not alone. Find your menopause. Yeah. And I agree everything with it, of course, that Joy and Loretta said too.
Just wonderful. And, it's just like a toolbox of strategies and tactics and mindset and advice and all that you, each one individually and collectively have given in this conversation. It's so fantastic. I just want to remind everyone that all of the links and websites for these phenomenal leaders that you've heard about are on the screen. They've been on the screen. They're in the chat. Please reach out. And several of you have asked very specific questions about clinicians and doctors, et cetera. Those resources are there. Go to these websites. We have the resources now. Yeah. So go check it out. And Joy, Loretta, Cheryl, just thank you for, I'm not going to say, such a stimulating, great conversation, because I knew it was going to be that, because that's what y'all bring in every setting that I've known each of you in. And you're continually bringing what we need to hear as women leaders, as in this extraordinary time of life. And I know for sure that there's been at least one person, probably many, but I know there's been at least one woman leader who's been affected, impacted by what you've said today. And I know for me, mine was the black hanky, because I use that one. I love it. But there was so much great information. Thank you all so much for being here. I love y'all.
Love you too, Dr.
Love you. Thanks for this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. And so for each of you, I know, I don't want to say I hope you found something in this conversation, because I know you did. And this is the kind of conversation that needed to happen. And we're having it all across the state. It's not just about awareness, but it's about direction. And so we want to bring this back to you as we're closing out. It's not about, do I understand this now? The question is, what do I do with it? What, now that I have this? So here's a simple way I want you to think about your next moves. And again, get Leading Through the Fog. It's an interactive guide and will help you with these steps to name it. Stop guessing. Get clear on what's happening. Step number 2, track it. Notice your patterns, your energy, your sleep, your focus. Then step 3, adjust for it. Make those decisions and do your most important, impactful work when you are at your best energy piece. Step 4, advocate for yourself. Ask for what it is that you need at the workplace, in your clinician's office, your doctor's office. Find a way. And it can be sometimes just a little tiny thing, but advocate for yourself. And then finally, find ways to lead it. And this is why I wanted to have this conversation, because I do believe it's a leadership issue. It's about how we as midlife women continue to have the impact, the influence, the changing for the positive that we bring with us at our workplace, in our community, with our families. So the aspect, the step of leading it, don't stay silent. Your voice makes it easier for the next woman, makes it possible for that young guy. And so everything we've talked about today, again, I want you to get that Leading Through the Fog interactive guide so that you know how to keep showing up at that high level. And the link is in the chat. And remember, you are not done. It's not over. This is a beautiful phase of life. You're just being asked to lead differently, wonderfully in this stage. It's up to you to decide what's next. See you next time.